Imagine this. Aliens descend from the sky, furious, demanding their stolen device. Their voices echo across the city. Who tampered with our technology? A man named Juan steps forward, trembling. He admits he's the one who modified their device into something that looks like a simple pen. The aliens raise their weapons, ready to destroy everything. But here's the shocking part. This very pen is what turned Juan from a starving street artist into the richest man in the city, and the same pen that could now end his entire world. Before all this chaos with aliens began, Juan was just another struggling artist. He lived in poverty, barely making enough money to pay rent. His days were spent on the streets, sketching portraits for anyone willing to spare a few coins. One afternoon, as he finished a beautiful painting for a young woman, a luxurious car pulled up. Inside was the wealthiest man in town, and beside him, Juan's ex-girlfriend. The rich man smirked, threw money in Juan's face, and mocked, "Here's your whole day's earnings." In front of the woman he once loved, Juan was humiliated. Things didn't get better at home either. His landlord demanded rent, mocking Juan for being broke. The only thing Juan could do was quietly collect bottles and cans, hoping to sell them at the end of the month. Even in the art world, he found no respect. The gallery owner laughed at his paintings, calling them worthless. When Juan mentioned that his blind girlfriend admired his work, the owner sneered, "She can't even see. What does her opinion matter?" But through all this humiliation, one person stayed by Juan's side. Tien, the woman who couldn't see but loved him deeply. She worked as a massage therapist, often facing harassment because of her blindness. When Juan tried to defend her, he was beaten down, yet he still stood by her. Despite the pain, despite the rejection, Juan never gave up on his dream of becoming a true artist. And then, one night on a rooftop, everything changed. One drunken night, Juan and his friend passed out on the rooftop. Suddenly, a spaceship appeared above them. Juan woke up just in time to see strange figures step out. Aliens who seemed to be exploring the area. Before he could react, they vanished into thin air, but not before dropping something. When Juan picked it up, he realized it was just a pen, but this wasn't an ordinary pen. The next day, while painting, Juan's colors ran out. Out of curiosity, he used the strange pen. To his shock, the drawing he made suddenly came alive. First, an apple appeared, then gold, and finally, a palace, towering in the middle of the city. He quickly discovered the pen had two powers. It could bring any drawing to life and erase it with a single press. At first, Juan was careful, but soon he and his friend were overwhelmed by greed. They drew stacks of cash until their tiny room overflowed with money. They showed off luxury cars, mansions, and clothes that made the entire neighborhood stare in disbelief. Juan even confronted his past. He paid rent for 100 years up front, humiliating his landlord. He bought palaces in front of his ex-girlfriend, leaving her speechless with regret. But at the center of all this wealth, there was still Tien. Juan wanted to marry her. In front of guests at a grand palace, he proposed. But she turned him down. Not because she didn't love him, but because she was blind. She believed he would be ashamed to live with her. Desperate, Juan tried something no one had ever imagined. He drew a pair of eyes for her. At first, the attempt went horribly wrong, but after hours of work, something unbelievable happened. Tien suddenly disappeared into the painting and reappeared with her vision restored. For the first time in years, she could see Juan's face. It was a miracle. Juan's life seemed perfect. Wealth, love, and fame. His paintings, once ignored, now sold for millions. He finally had everything he ever dreamed of. But what Juan didn't know was that the pen's magic had a dark truth. Everything it created came from somewhere else. Tien's new eyes weren't made from nothing. They had been stolen from a famous actress who suddenly went blind. The money Juan created came directly from real banks, vanishing from their vaults. And soon, the world would come crashing down on him. It didn't take long before the police noticed. Banks reported missing cash. A famous actress suddenly lost her sight. And in every case, the trail led back to Juan. During an art auction, police stormed in to arrest him. Juan tried to prove he wasn't a thief. He told them he could create anything they asked for. Skeptical, the officers demanded a Ferrari. Within moments, a brand new red Ferrari appeared inside the station. The police were stunned. Since there was no law against magic, Juan was released. But his troubles were far from over. That night, his ex-girlfriend showed up, broken and apologetic. Juan, still emotional, revealed the secret of the magical pen. What he didn't know was that her jealous husband, the painter Chongi, had planted a hidden camera on her. Now Chongi knew everything. Soon after, the pen was stolen. Chongi wasted no time. He created a lavish art gallery, royal palaces, and even kidnapped a beauty queen by sketching her straight out of a magazine cover. His greed had no limits. But the pen's theft drew attention from its original owners. The aliens returned. They demanded to know who had altered their device to look like a simple pen. Chongi, desperate, tried to fight back. He even drew a tank and fired at them. But the aliens easily turned his own weapon against him. When they asked again, Juan stepped forward. Trembling, he admitted he was the one who had modified the device. The aliens were furious, ready to punish him. Everything Juan had built, every dream he had chased, was about to collapse in front of him. The aliens, angered by how humans had abused their device, prepared to take it back by force. But before leaving, Juan made one final plea. He begged them to restore everything the pen had stolen, to return every single thing to where it truly belonged. The aliens agreed, and in an instant, the world changed. The mansions, the luxury cars, the piles of money, all vanished. The actress who had lost her vision suddenly regained her sight, while Tien's eyes faded back into darkness. Every palace, every object, even the smallest trinket Juan had drawn, disappeared as if it had never existed. Police cars and helicopters swarmed the area, but the aliens escaped with lightning speed before humans could capture them. As for Chongi, there was no escape. He was arrested for kidnapping the beauty queen he had stolen from her world and for the chaos he had caused. His empire of lies crumbled in seconds. Juan, once celebrated as a genius artist, was left with nothing again. The magical pen was gone forever. Juan's life returned to where it all began: empty pockets, an unfinished canvas, and the streets he once roamed as a struggling artist. But something inside him had changed. He no longer dreamed of riches or power. All he wanted was Tien. Even though she had lost her sight again, she stood beside him, smiling. "I loved you when I couldn't see. I love you now the same way," she whispered. For Juan, that was more valuable than any palace he could ever draw. He picked up his old brushes, dipped them in paint, and began working once more. Not for money, not for fame, but simply because creating art was who he was. The world might have forgotten his name. The galleries might still laugh at his work. But Juan had finally understood the truth. Real art, real love, and real happiness can't be drawn into existence. They must be lived. Every movie hides a deeper meaning, and we'll keep uncovering them together. Hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more mind-blowing movie explanations. Until next time, keep watching, keep wondering.